If you don't look like an easy victim, you're not as likely to become a victim. Because how many of you walk down the street a certain day in your own neighborhood where you feel safe, but if you're out later at night somewhere you don't know that well, or maybe it's a little sketchy, you tend to walk differently than you normally walk. And who does that? Okay, I'm going to have you come on up for a second if you don't mind. Have you stand right there. Just walk across the room the way you normally walk. Okay. All right. Later at night, you're walking past me. Show me what you might do differently. Okay. Now, would you look at me, make eye contact, or would you avoid it?
I would probably avoid it.
You can avoid as well. Avoid.
I would make eye contact. I'm not sure.
Okay, I can argue. Now, have you stay here for a second?
The other way.
Now, the part I hate saying is a lot of questions you're going to ask me, I can argue both sides. I don't have a definite answer for most topics, and this is one. I can argue why you should make eye contact and why you shouldn't. I lean on the side of you should make eye contact, because if you look at me, lets me know you've seen me, you're not afraid to look at me. If you look too nervous or scared to look at me, to me that's a good sign. You're probably vulnerable, maybe a weak or shy. So quick eye contact is good, but just quickly. I pick on men a lot when I teach this course, but unfortunately a lot of times if a woman looks at a man a split second too long, the guy's like, she wants me. Right? I try to tell men that not all women want them, okay, but they don't seem to see that. So I just say just a very neutral face. It's not challenging, it's not weak, just quick eye contact. You're not doing this. If you're walking this way, walk this way. You know, you're not like...
That would make it look away.
Good. You can have a seat. Thank you. Yay. So just quick, very, neutral, with purpose, like you know where you're going, paying attention. Because I was teaching in New York City about a year ago, and I caught myself doing this. I'd never been there before, but the first half hour, I'm like, wow, like you idiot, you look like a great, victim. So body language is very important, and along with body language is your intuition. Have you ever been in a situation before where you just got that gut feeling that something wasn't right? Does anybody remember a particular time? Okay. Well, I remember, I'll share one with you, about 17 years ago, I did a self-defense seminar at the Royal York Hotel in Toronto. After the seminar, I went shopping in the mall with my sister. Well, where are most washrooms in malls? Down a long hallway with a food court. So I said to my sister, I'm going to the washroom. So I opened this door, a guy to make eye contact. Another big guy, I remember looking up at him. I walked down the hallway quickly. When I got into the washroom, the first thing I realized was I was in there by myself. And then, boom, right away I thought, something's not right here. Now I'm thinking, but I really got to go. But I thought, no, get out of here, take your own advice. So within a split second, I turn around and walk out. Who's coming back in? Both guys. Very narrow hallway, they stood side by side. Like, they're obviously blocking me, right? Now I'm going to talk about some verbal stuff later, but I could tell it wasn't really the time for verbal, diffusion. Today, guys, and then boom, just a little shot, I go out. My sister immediately looks at me and goes, what's with those two guys? I'm like, why? I just had a really weird feeling. She goes, when you went in to begin with, I saw the two of them turn to each other, smile, and follow you back in. Wow. So I remember looking at my sister, and I'm like, well, I'm glad you're out here wondering what's happening to me. Did you send them in? Waiting for me to scream? But again, that gut feeling overrules everything. Okay, and I'll give you a pretty serious story later. Or at one of my women's parties I did in Peterborough, I teach a lot of healthcare workers, and the one woman, she goes, Chris, I want to know what I should have done. She goes, I went to a client's home, I was pepper sprayed and stabbed. Just said it like that. So, well, give me a bit more detail, okay? I said, was it a brand new client? Nope, been to her many times. I said, okay. Was it a house, apartment? She goes, well, it was like an apartment building, but I had to buzz myself in. So she goes, I pressed the buzzer, the woman answers, and we just, a couple words, and then you could see her face. She goes, now that I think about it, when she talked to me, I just got a weird feeling. Nothing major, just a strange feeling. Okay. She goes in. She goes, now normally when I would get into the apartment, we would talk for about 20 seconds, make small talk. But this time, and you could see it in her face, she goes, she purposely led me to a chair. Like, here, have a seat, with my back to her. And then within like 2 seconds, the woman pepper sprays her and stabs her. So the moral of that story is, you will almost always get warning signs, gut feelings. They might be very small, but if you get that uncomfortable feeling, is to stop and think for a moment, why am I uncomfortable? Is it reasonable to be uncomfortable? Because a lot of people ask, probably just my imagination, I'm being paranoid, okay? And usually people who have been victims of attack, when they interview them and they'll say, what warning signs were there? Most people are like, well, there are none. But they'll go, well, this happened, or I heard this, or I felt this way. There's almost always some warning signs. It'll usually get worse as you go along. Okay, so you just want to acknowledge that. All right.